always know when I start. Official start is when you hear me say, "And we're back." But
Okay.
I'll do the full intro and uh, go from there. And other than that, there's no we don't have to be serious or anything
Okay, excellent.
because I'm not that serious. Oh, look at that! I'm live on Facebook. Everybody's gonna be so happy. Oh, nice. All right, you ready, really?
You bet.
And we are back. Here I am, Fly Navarro with the No BS World Tour, coming at you live. That's right. Coming at you, talking about all the fun fishing and hunting stuff we can talk about while everybody else is doing, well, whatever else everybody else is doing. Today, I'm joined by my really good friend, Willie Dor. Pronounce your last name for me, Willie, just to make sure I get it right.
It's Dvorak. That's
Dvorak.
Czechoslovakian.
That's
Czechoslovakian, so don't hold that against me.
No, I won't hold nothing against you. And for those of you that don't know Willie, Willie owns the Jim River Guide Service that I had the wonderful pleasure of going out there back in January doing some bison hunting. So if anybody saw my photos, I was hunting with Willie along with my big clan that we all joined out there and enjoyed some fun times in South Dakota. And I don't want to say I was disappointed in the weather in South Dakota. If I'm correct, Willie, the year before you were at -30 the same week that I was there. And I think we were at a whopping 36 or 34 degrees. It was actually quite nice.
Yeah, when you guys were here, it was gorgeous. And yeah, you hit the nail on the head. A year before, just on the calendar, it was -30 and we were wearing snowshoes. So you guys brought nice weather with us. That was nice.
Oh, man, that was good because some of my guys, I don't think they could have handled snowshoes.
Oh, I think they can. If you can handle a flip flop, you can handle a snowshoe.
Listen, I know after the fact we were talking about how we were running across a prairie, trying to chase some buffaloes down, and camouflage pants were falling. Not overall pants, just the camo pants. They were falling because they weren't the proper size, but we had a blast. So, Willie, I'm going to let you take it from here. Just tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you're located at, and some of the stuff you guys do.
Well, I live on the Jim River of South Dakota, and I hunt the Jim River in Alaska. So that's where Jim River Guide Service comes in. I started the business 23 years ago. From the ground up, I've built it, and we hunt everything from prairie dogs to brown bear. And if you're looking for a good time, you should probably check my websites out because we're in the fun business.
Amen to that, brother. We are definitely, this is all entertainment. We are here to make sure people have a good time and entertain.
Yeah,
so
we like it.
That's a
we like
big
it
deal.
Too.
And I'll tell you what, we were mightily entertained with you while we were up there. There was how many of us were there? There was 6 of us staying.
Yeah,
with you.
there were 5 hunters, and then you came along with them. So there was 6 of you, and then me and my crew, and we had a blast hosting you. You brought a bunch of fantastic guys. That's a big part of it. You know, if you bring a stick in the mud, that's no fun for everybody. You brought 5 fantastic guys with you.
They had a ball. We're still talking about it.
Yeah, I'm glad.
We're still talking about it.
When you guys were up to buffalo hunt, I mean, seeing those buffalo walk across the prairie, there's just something fantastic about it. It's hard to describe it until you see it for yourself, especially on big open country like we're hunting.
So while we're on that topic, on the big prairie, we were right before we came on air. You were telling me, you were just starting to tell me about your hunt you had yesterday, and I stopped you because I wanted you to tell the story here on air, because a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about bison hunting.
I think that's probably true. And you know, some places you can go buffalo hunting or bison hunting. You know, they're really called bison but I think if you're standing in the United States and you say the word buffalo, I think everybody knows what you're talking about. So we use the terms interchangeably, but yeah, we're hunting on big open country, and these big animals, they're fantastic because some people like to equate it with, going out after a sheep or a cow, and that's not really the truth. That's like saying going wolf hunting or coyote hunting is like going out and shooting a German Shepherd. It's just, it makes a lot of sense if you just don't think about it. But these buffalo are big animals. They can be aggressive. A beef cow, she can run 15 or 20 miles an hour. I think one of the guys that you had with us could probably outrun that cow. Jared that played the wide receiver, but a bison can run 45 miles an hour. The only animal in North America that runs faster than a bison is an antelope, and an antelope weighs 90 pounds. Two of those buffalo that you guys shot weighed well over 2,000 pounds. So there's just something fantastic about seeing these animals come across the country. They can see good, they can hear, and they can take a lot of punishment when you're hunting them. You need to make some great shots to bring them down. And it's, everybody, when they think buffalo hunting, I think they think of that iconic picture of Teddy Roosevelt standing there, because he was a big conservationist, and there's just something really romantic about it.
It was the first day you took out 3 guys and you guys stalked and hunted all your buffalo. And the second day I came along, because it was 2 guys, they were after super trophies. And I would say we probably ended up hiking 2.5 miles by the time everything, if not a little bit more, by the time we saw the buffalo, by the time we set up shop for them at one spot, and they ended up either seeing us or they made a turn and they took off across the prairie.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Yeah, like I say, we hunt these on big country, and the furthest we've ever had to run one down, in order to get the job done was 9.5 miles. So these buffalo, they've got endurance that, I mentioned a beef cow. If a beef cow charges you, if you've ever been with a beef cow that got angry, she can run about 30 or 40 yards and then she's exhausted. Buffalo can run 45 miles an hour, for a mile or two, and it can run 35 miles an hour for probably 20 miles, 30 miles. The endurance that a buffalo has, they're amazing animals. It's really something, not to be gross, but like when you look at the windpipe of a buffalo, you can drop a can of pop right down the bottom of the windpipe of a buffalo. They are oxygen burning machines. It's fantastic.
And listen, I can attest to not only their windpipe, but their heart. Their heart is a little bit bigger than my head. And by what my girlfriend tells me, my head can't get any bigger because I can barely get in the front door.
There you go. So that kind of says it all right there.
So it was definitely something. It was the first time I'd ever hunted on prairie land like that. It was the first time I'd ever been part of a bison hunt. And you were very, very specific when you went through, and me, who spent my entire career on boats and going over what people to expect, especially during the day, especially once a fish comes up and all that, you went over that with us step by step the night before, what everybody should expect, all the safety precautions. And one of the things that sat with this group was how you said, if one charges, it's not the one you see, it's the one that could be 800 yards away. You don't even see it. And suddenly he decides he's coming at you.
Yeah. I've done over 450 buffalo hunts, and I've only been charged 4 times. And so basically it never happens, but at the same time, 4 out of 450, that it does happen. It's just that it hardly ever happens. But each time I was charged by a buffalo, the charge initiated from when the buffalo were somewhere between 600 and 800 yards. So basically, nearly a half a mile, way over a quarter of a mile. And, I also do the brown bear hunts up in Alaska. And, if a bear charges, or you go back to that beef cow that people get hung up on, they charge. That usually happens within 20 yards, or maybe within 50 or maybe 100 yards at the absolute most. But with these buffalo, you just get, within a quarter. By the time you're within a quarter mile, you are way within their range. But about a half a mile is where that charge initiates. And I got to tell you, when they come towards you, there's no question about what's happening. It's not like, well, geez, I wonder if that buffalo sees us yet. No, he's looking right into your soul as he's upset. He wants to get you. It's exhilarating.
So, and for everybody that's listening, if you can, so here you have this animal charging at you, and it's half a mile away, and it's closing in fast. What are you doing?
Well, the first thing you're doing is letting him get close enough so he's in range, because when he starts coming, he'll cover that. If he starts at a half a mile and decides, okay, I'm coming after you, he starts running. And the first thing you noticed about a buffalo, if you've watched those old movies, you know how movies are. They're based on reality, but every time you've seen a buffalo, whether it's in Costner's movie or that awesome movie about the white buffalo with Charles Bronson, every time a buffalo charges, they show that buffalo stampeding with his head down, like he's gonna butt you. But the first thing you notice about that buffalo is his head is held way, way, way up high. And it's almost like he's trying to get a high view of what's going on. And he's holding it extraordinarily high. And here he comes, and he's coming at 45 miles an hour. So he can cover that half a mile. And, I've not done the math, but basically he can come a half a mile in about 40 seconds. And so you've got about 39 seconds to decide what you're going to do. And then it's rather simple, just really get a good rest, keep your composure, and aim right for the center of that buffalo, because you don't, a kind of a myth about animals is you don't have to kill them in order to get them to stop charging. It's kind of like that bully you ran into in high school. You just pop him in the nose and he quits being a bully. Same thing happens if a buffalo is charging you. When you shoot him, it gets his attention. It hurts. You've got his attention, and it's devastating to him. But you don't have to kill him with that shot, but you do have to hit him. And then when you hit him, he'll turn, and most likely he's going to turn. All the times I've dealt with it, they've immediately turned as soon as you hit them. But yeah, they're bearing right down on you, and there's no question. There's no question that they are coming right in your lap. So it's a thrilling experience. Luckily, almost never happens, and if I don't ever get charged again, that'll be fantastic.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
But I could see where it's exhilarating in the sense of everything is happening so fast. And one of the things that I saw while I was hunting with you was it was a spot and stalk. It was quiet, blend into your surroundings, stay low, move from one spot to another. So if it accelerates fast, like you said, with the charging, it could really start getting a lot of the anticipation and your adrenaline running.
Oh yeah, your adrenaline goes. When you get into the kill zone of of you know, like a bison or the brown bears in Alaska. You know, the thrill is certainly there. The brown bears in Alaska, you know, they've made so many movies about them, and the buffalo also. But I can tell you one thing about the brown bear, that, and I suppose with the buffalo, it's there's a little bit of a difference, and I'll get to that in a second. But I have never turned around as I got into a kill zone of a brown bear and looked at the hunter when I said, okay, you know, be ready. And that hunter not looking at me like if he was scared to death. I've never just turned around and saw a guy just looking at me nonchalantly saying, yeah, I'm ready for this deal. No, that person is scared to death. And that's one of the thrilling reasons that we go hunting, is knowing that bear moves super fast. They're tough, you know, so you're excited. The difference with the buffalo is that some people will go into that buffalo kill zone a little bit nonchalant. And if you remember, I gave you guys real good instructions on not to take it too lightly, because these animals are notoriously tough animals. And you know, it's certainly not uncommon to make 6 or 8 great shots on a buffalo in order to make him give up the ghost, just because they are so big. A lot of people, if you shoot a deer or you shoot a coyote or you shoot an elk, these buffalo, like the buffalo that Corey and Jared got, they are probably 2.5 times as big as the biggest bull elk in the Rocky Mountains. And so the size alone makes them just very tough.
I remember that the one that not Jared, but Corey shot vividly, because I was sitting up on the mound with Hero, and he had just taken his animal, and I looked down at you, and you were just putting your fingers in your ear. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, he's already given Corey the go ahead whenever he's ready. And when you're not right next to the gun, one of the neat things is you hear the blast, and then within the second, you heard the bullet hit. And Corey's animal literally, and this was my first time bison hunting, so everything was a new experience to me. All the hunting I've done is deer and hog hunting and turkey hunting. But the first thing I saw that bison do was jump, kick his legs back. I'm like, wow, that's very similar to a whitetail when you hit him in the heart. And literally his bison, I think, took 2 steps and was down.
Yeah,
That was it.
That was it. That was, Corey, we just got done. This hunt that we did yesterday was the last hunt of the year. And I'll be putting a post on my Facebook page about it. But Corey had the only 1-shot kill we've had all year. And so, I mean, my hat goes off to him. And, a second ago, I said those 2 really big bulls were Corey and Jared. That's not true. It was Hero that shot the other giant bull. Hero shot a giant one and Corey shot a giant one. And Corey, I remember when we went out that morning, I was explaining where to shoot that buffalo, and Corey was all ears. You could tell that he was listening to every word that I said, and it paid off. Oftentimes, as hunters, and I'm certainly more familiar with hunters than fishermen, but sometimes we let our ego get carried away, and what could anybody tell me that I don't even already know? And so sometimes people go into that deal and they're thinking, well, I know where to shoot an animal, but a lot of us don't. And boy, Corey, he was all ears, and he got the only 1-shot kill we've had on bison for 2 or 3 years. And so that's about 100 head of buffalo. And he's got the only 1-shot kill in the last 2 or 3 years, so that's
that was
I'm
amazing.
going to be recognizing him because it was fantastic. And then I heard him tell Bob when we got done, he said, I just put it where Willie told me to. and that's all there was to it,
That was awesome. And I think, if I'm correct, I think today's Corey's birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
I think it's today is his birthday. So,
Awesome.
um, but that was a great hunt, and we had a great time. And one of the things that was really, really interesting and it was really fun for me, and I've gotten a chance to do a lot of different trips all over the world. You hosted us in your home. So every day, every morning we woke up, we had breakfast with you. Um, and every night we were having dinner. Your chef is amazing, Miss Annie, who is your daughter. She's an unbelievable, except for the meat. You do all the grilling. Let's
Well,
get that. Let's get
I do,
that.
I did all the grilling that time. She really does quite a bit of the cooking now, and I'm real proud of her because she does a fantastic job. But those particular nights, I did do the grilling.
But let me tell you, everything else that she cooked, amazing. And if you can let everybody know how old Annie is.
Well, I thank you for the compliment. She's 14.
14. Make sure you get it
14.
right.
Yeah, I gotta get it right. Yeah, she's really started helping a lot. Out here, you know, Annie and Tristan, my son that you guys never met, but we expect them to help. So even when they're only, people might not believe it, but 5 or 6 years old, they got a lot of responsibility of, you can always clean something when you're 5, and yeah. So she's doing the whole menu at. Well, I suppose she started doing the whole menu when she was 12 on occasion, but now she's 14. So she does the whole menu, I guess, probably most of the time. I
and
oversee it a little bit, but yeah, we
and
want to
very
eat good.
impressive food. Very impressive food. Every night we had a wonderful meal. Our first night I remember vividly because we had on the drive from the airport, we were like, man, we sure like some bison chili. And sure enough, first night we had bison chili and it was
Oh, yeah.
delicious.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it. Yeah, we usually try to do something kind of simple that first night and then kick it up a notch or two the next nights. And because I really don't remember what we fed you, but it was probably fantastic because I'm kind of a foodie, and if I'm going to eat it, I want it to be awesome.
No, no, it was very good. And I remember vividly we had bison chili, we had bison tenderloin one night, and then
Oh
we
yeah,
had a ribeye steaks.
yeah. We had ribeye steaks then. Okay, yep.
It
Yeah,
was
well, we
very,
try to
very
eat
good.
good. That's for sure.
Well, after walking around all day long, you definitely work up an appetite.
Oh yeah. Plus, I don't want to just waste away to nothing.
Neither do I, and I'd have a long way to go before I waste away to nothing.
Yeah, man.
So, and now while you're sitting there drinking whatever it is you're drinking, it
Well,
reminds.
it's just soda pop,
Okay,
just
well,
to keep my throat wet.
I'm drinking water here, but it reminds me of a story. And for those of you that are going to be listening to this audio only, uh, and don't see the video, Mr. Willie actually has some of the largest chop sideburns.
Oh yeah.
But we need the story behind it because you told us the story at dinner, and if you wouldn't mind telling all our listeners exactly what those chopped sideburns are all about.
Well, I they started out as Elvis chops, and I like to tell people, no, it's Clint Eastwood, because they're not a. I'm more of a Clint Eastwood guy than Elvis, maybe, but yeah, I had a pal that came out for an archery antelope hunt, and or it wasn't a pal, it was a customer at the time, turned into a great friend, and then they wanted to do some coyote hunting, and I'm pretty good at that, and they said, well, we'd like you to come to our neck of the woods and see if we can call our coyotes in. So this guy was from Boonville, Missouri, or a little town right by Boonville, Missouri. And so I and a buddy of mine went down there, and we called in a bunch of coyotes and a bobcat. I mean, we had a great success. Well, as it turns out, his dad was a huge Elvis Presley fan. And so his dad, who was, I guess, probably in his 70s, and his grandmother then was in her 90s, actually made him jumpsuits for Halloween parties so that the dad could go as Elvis. Well, one thing led to another. They said, well, if we come out on a prairie dog hunt with you, Willie, we want to see you wearing your sideburns low and wear this jumpsuit as you shoot prairie dogs, in this Elvis jumpsuit. And so I did, I can't pass up an opportunity to do that. And then I just kind of stuck with the sideburns forever. And I guess I probably will. I don't know. I'll cut them off once in a while, but no, I have it's a discussion whether it's the Elvis look or the Clint Eastwood look.
Well, for me, what I remember vividly is in your mud room as we're taking off our boots and our camo. There's an actual picture of you wearing the full Elvis jumpsuit with a cape, I believe.
Oh yeah, and the white shoes too. You might not see it, but I was wearing the white shoes and the belt too. Oh yeah, I looked astonishing like Elvis just before he really started getting fat.
You had the full jumpsuit. You're sitting on a shooting bench with a rifle and in all your glory there.
Oh yeah, it's all about fun.
Amen to that. I agree with you 100%. What people don't understand, and you can explain it a little bit more on the hunting side. I always tell people there's a difference between fishing and catching.
Sure.
Catching is the actual reeling in the fish, or fishing is the time you spend with your friends and family.
There you go.
And I know when I go hunting, it's one of those things. There's killing, there's the actual harvesting of the animal, and then the hunting is what you do with your friends. And we saw it. Every single person that took a bison, they called their wives or their girlfriends. They FaceTimed it. They wanted to show their family. You can see the look of happiness, and they're proud of it. And it's nice to have your friends there together as you put your arm around each other and you're like, man, look what I just did. And it's a very big, even though you're by yourself behind that gun, it is a group effort. It's a team effort.
Yeah, that puts it real nice. That puts it in perspective real nice. That comment that you made about, catching or killing is part of the trip, but the fishing and the hunting, that's what you're doing with your friends. That's nicely put.
Yeah, it's every night we had a great dinner. We were hanging out downstairs, and I believe there were some games on, and we're watching the games, and we're telling stories. And to me, that's what the fishing and the hunting is about, is sitting at night, having a cocktail, if that's what you choose, and telling stories and what happened today, and finding out, because you always find out where somebody's squeamish. And I remember Corey, when we were trying to feed him the bison tongue.
Oh, yeah.
No way.
Yeah, that was bison tongue is like a fantastic piece of food. I'm not really into eating into organs and such. Liver and heart is not really my thing, but there is something about a bison tongue that's fantastic. Back in the 1860s, when they killed the buffalo off, they were doing it with the hide. They were doing it for the hides and the tongues, if you believe the writing in the history books, so because they could pickle those tongues and then use the hides, of course, as buffalo hide. But yeah, buffalo tongue's delicious. And then I think Corey and maybe all you guys maybe got your first glimpse of the inside of a butcher shop when we took them in. That's part of the process. It's it can be a little gory in there, but I mean, it is certainly part of the process. If you're gonna cook the meat, it's got to go through the process, and it might be a little bit disturbing to look at, but not everything's rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah, well, a lot of times, and it's really tough to describe it to people that don't hunt or have never hunted or fished before, but a steak doesn't just show up on a piece of cellophane on a styrofoam tray with a piece of cellophane over the top. It comes from an animal, and you have to have it processed. And the food and the bison was processed unbelievably. I know when we left with 2,300 pounds of processed bison.
That's
Uh, and I came home with 123 pounds uh,
nice.
of bison. And the reason I know, because after I left hunting with you, I went for an ice fishing tournament in Iowa. And something that I've never done being a Floridian is I left 2 boxes of bison in the trunk of the car. And I'm like, well, it's 17 degrees out. It should be okay. And I'm checking it every night. And I get to the airport and I go to check my luggage. And the lady's like, are you checking those boxes? I said, yes, ma'am. And I put it up on the counter on the scale. She's like, dear Lord, what is in there? Because it's not a very big box and it's 60 pounds. And I said, ma'am, that's ground bison. And then I threw the other box on there and it was 63 pounds. So that's how I know I came home with 123 pounds.
Yeah,
And,
there you
and we've been, and it's funny because that group that we all went and hunted with you, we built a little, a text message group, and we've still continued to talk and chat every time we try a new recipe with bison.
Oh, nice.
Whether
Nice.
we were just grilling a steak or doing some meatballs. The other night I had some meatloaf. So I've been playing around with some great recipes.
Yeah, that's the gift that keeps on giving, Clark.
Oh my gosh, it's so. Oh, and Clark. So
Oh yeah.
downstairs you have the picture of Randy Quaid. Hey Clark, the shitter's full.
Oh yeah. Yeah, what a classic, huh?
What a great photo.
Yeah.
And for anybody that is not familiar, this is Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase and Randy Quaid. And if I remember correctly, your brother, you said, looks like Randy Quaid.
Yeah, he kind of looks like Randy Quaid, and when he's wanting to act like it, he can act just like him. So it's just like having Randy Quaid in the back of the pickup when he's along, because he is so funny. He's always 3 steps ahead of the rest of us, and when it comes to doing funny stuff, boy, he just makes the whole trip. That's for sure. And he's along once in a while, so that's classic stuff, you know.
It was great hearing his stories. So you said that you're just wrapping up your hunting season in South Dakota right now. Could you let everybody know what are the things that you, besides bison, what else are you hunting in South Dakota?
Well, we just wrapped up yesterday. We hunted the last buffalo, and so now between now and the 1st of May, about the only thing we really go after is coyotes, which is a fantastic hunt. You know, it's exciting too, because then there you're actually getting the animals to come to you. That's exciting. And then starting the 1st of May, we get into prairie dogs, and then we do that until about the 1st of August. When I go to Alaska, I guide for brown bear and moose up there. We also will take the occasional black bear and wolverine, wolf. We hunt wolves up there in Alaska. And then towards the end of September, I'm usually up there 6 or 8 weeks. And then when I get back, then it's archery antelope, and then rifle antelope, and then archery deer and rifle deer. And we will do a few prairie dogs when we get back in the month of October also. And then rifle deer gets us kind of into the end of November. And then we really get into the buffalo deal hard and heavy then. And we'll hunt buffalo December, January, the first part of February. And then usually the last half of February is when I usually do a little vacation with the family. We go someplace warm to get out of the ice box up here. And we just came down into your country.
You were down here in South.
I and my whole crew from Alaska, we went down and we did some iguana hunting down in Florida and some fishing. And then I brought Annie down there and we did a little iguana hunting and fishing excuse me, down there with Annie. So that gave me about a week or 10 days of getting out of the ice box. It was nice to get down there and get some sun on my abs.
I also saw that you did some iguana hunting here in Florida.
Yep. That was a blast. We flew into Fort Lauderdale, and like I said, my pals that helped me up in Alaska, there's three guys, Josh, Forrest, and Matt. And just kind of as an appreciation trip, we went down there and we ate in the best restaurants we could find in Fort Lauderdale. You got a bunch of them down there, just fantastic food. And then we did the iguana hunting down there, where we're shooting iguanas. They're a problem animal, a pest, but fun as the dickens to hunt.
They're very invasive.
Yeah,
very invasive.
Caused a lot of trouble. So we shot them, and then we went out and did some. We went out and did fishing out in the ocean 2 different times. One was for sharks. We got one shark, and we saw another, and we had a couple more bites. That was awesome. And then and specifically awesome for us guys. I live 1,500 miles from the nearest ocean, so we're not used to big water. And then my daughter and I went out, and she caught one small fish. I really can't remember what it was. I think bonita maybe. We were looking for sharks but didn't get them. And boy, was that water rough. That is not my deal. We were both pretty green around the gills, on that deal. I don't know. They said 6 or 8 foot seas. It looked to me like they were 106 feet, just huge waves. And yeah, that's not what we're accustomed to out here on the prairie or up on the tundra.
It's definitely different when you're out there in the ocean.
It's a fantastic experience. Anytime we can do something that we're not, anytime we can do something that we've never done before, oh, we just love it, here.
That's a great thing. Now, I want to ask you a little bit more about your prairie dog hunting, because I see a lot of pictures and I see a lot of numbers. It seems like the numbers of prairie dogs that you guys are hunting, it's something like me catching a bunch of sailfish. Explain to us the attraction behind prairie dog hunting, because I also want to know, and I'm assuming they're doing damage to the land.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
they tear up the land because they dig so many holes, there are holes everywhere. And it's kind of hard to describe just how many prairie dogs there are. There's, you might, if you just turn the TV on, the media will say, anything about these prairie dogs, like they're almost extinct. But one field trip with me, and I'll show you thousands of them, And so it's kind of hard to explain just how many prairie dogs there'll be out, on a section of land. But there certainly can be thousands, in these towns that we're hunting. There's always hundreds. And then you set up with your shooting benches and rifles, and it's a long range deal. We're shooting those prairie dogs. They're out there a long ways. And then, you never really slow down. There's just like a never ending supply of prairie dogs to shoot at. And they're real small critters. They're about the size of a bottle of pop. And we'll shoot them out at, like with a 223. And I won't get like into ballistics and anything with you, but a 223 is like the black rifles that get a little negative attention. But a 223 is a military round, but it also happens to be extremely accurate. You see them fired out of the AR-15s or the military. They call them assault style weapons. You can call them whatever you want, black rifles or whatever. I call them fun rifles, because anybody that says an AR-15 does not have any sporting application has never been in a prairie dog town. Because when we set up there, you can just literally plink at those prairie dogs, just one shot after another all day long. And so when you can put in a magazine of 20, you'll drop that magazine of 20, maybe in only a couple of minutes, making good shots at prairie dogs and stick another magazine in. There's just a tremendous amount of these prairie dogs, and every one we can kill will be just one more prairie dog that isn't digging holes out on the prairie or eating the grass or cutting the grass that the cattle would normally consume. So it's kind of, we're having a blast. We're getting rid of animals. They're invasive species that are causing a lot of trouble for the rancher, and just having a fantastic time outside doing it.
How accurate are those AR-15s shooting the 223s? How far out are you shooting these prairie dogs?
They're extremely accurate. Back in the olden days, I was kind of the old school that, well, if you're not shooting a bolt action gun, you're not shooting the most accurate. But I'm here to tell you that those AR-15s, we kill a tremendous amount of prairie dogs at 500, 600, 700 yards with an AR-15, even with the 223 on those semi-automatic rifles. So 500, 600, 700 yards. Once you get out to about 800 yards, maybe there's some other calibers that are better, but out to that 223, that caliber is the best. No question. That's not a debatable deal. That's just a fact. And those AR platforms, super duper accurate. And that's what the fun is. And then if you want to go even further, push out past 1,000 yards, there's some other calibers that are maybe better for that. And I believe right now, no, I know for a fact, the longest shot I've ever had recorded by a prairie dog hunter is 1,316 yards.
Wow.
And so that's a long ways. And those guys, you don't want to think that, well, they only shot one at that distance. It's just that was the longest one that day. That's about 3/4 of a mile shooting an animal that's the size of a bottle of pop.
That's pretty impressive. Now, when you're sitting on that bench, are you just waiting for them to pop up out of the ground, or how is the hunting actually going?
Yeah, the answer would be basically yes. More specifically, is you're not waiting. They're up all the time, and
are they really?
Yeah, when you're sitting there, it's not uncommon to look out there, and when you try to tell your pals that have never done it, never been in one of those fields, how many they are, it's kind of hard to tell them accurately without looking like a fool. But there's a lot of them. There's just a lot. Yeah. You're not looking for one or two animals typically. You're looking at dozens, if not, a couple hundred.
That's amazing. So once you start firing, it's not like they get scared and go under and just.
They will get scared up close. So those close range shots, typically, the ones you see on YouTube, where the animal explodes or whatever, those are typically, you get a shot or two like that in a daytime. But I tell people, prairie dogs aren't the smartest animal on earth, but they're certainly not completely stupid either. So there'll be a line out there where the prairie dogs will stand up when you get past that line. Every day the line is in a little different place. Usually once you get out past, maybe like 400 yards or so, those prairie dogs will stand there, and you might get to shoot at them. You might get to shoot at them 10 or 20 times. And then they'll either go down then, or you'll hit them, then on to the next one,
That's awesome.
It's just great fun. I mean, it's low stress. If you miss one, it's not like missing a big brown bear. You're not going to beat yourself up. You just kind of laugh it off, jack another one in, and try to do the rancher a little more good.
It's kind of like duck hunting. If you miss one, your buddies get to tease you for at least till the next flock comes in.
Yeah, there's maybe not quite as much downtime in the prairie dog time as a duck bite, because there's always a lot of prairie dogs.
That's awesome. Now, when your Alaska season comes in, if you can take us through, I know when we were talking, I actually was talking to you at the airport on your way to Alaska as we were planning our trip. If you can walk us through what a normal hunt with you is like in Alaska for people that aren't familiar. It's not just a matter of walking off the airport in Anchorage and going hunting. There's a lot involved in it. And if you can tell everybody that's listening a little bit about that, because it's pretty interesting. It's not just going out and killing an animal. There, you're flying in and you're hunting and you're looking for the animal you're looking for.
Yep. Yeah. First off, you can hunt moose unguided in Alaska. It's certainly more productive if you go guided. If you're going to hunt brown bear, you have to have a guide. That's a safety issue. And so, yeah, on my particular hunts, you fly into Anchorage. And then from there, we're going to put you on a small plane to get you out into the bush. And we're going to fly you out part of the way in the first small plane. And then we're going to swap out and into a really small plane called a Super Cub. And that's where there's going to be the pilot. And then you'll sit right behind the pilot. And then you'll load that plane with gear, sometimes even putting gear on top of your lap, just whatever you can get in that plane. And then we fly into the bush in that Super Cub. And then there we'll live we'll be out there for about a week or so, and we'll stay in a tent. We have cots. We squat to do our business. We'll be landing on top of these hills, which is way, way better than landing. You know, a lot of times people think when they think bush plane, they think float plane. That's great. But if you think about it, floating means you're landing on the water and all the water runs downhill. So they're landing you in a low spot, which means when you start hunting, first thing you have to do every day is climb a hill. And that can get pretty darn taxing. We land on top of the hill to begin with. So that's where our camp is up on top. You unzip the tent in the morning and you step outside and there's, you know, in my hunting area, I have 11,000 square miles. There's 11,000 square miles of Alaska. We start looking for a bear and we sit down usually within, 100 yards, sometimes a quarter mile from the tent, but 100 yards from the tent and just start glassing. And the days are pretty long up there. You know, that time of year, there's 14 to 18 hours of daylight, I suppose. And you just glass and glass and glass and glass until you're blue in the face. And I guess the old saying is brown bear hunting is 99.5% boredom and 0.5% sheer terror. And I guess that's maybe a little dramatic, but there's a lot of boredom because you're just sitting there waiting for a brown bear to show up. But that's not really boring to me, because while you're sitting there looking for that brown bear to show up, you notice, well, geez, there's a moose over there, and there's another moose, and maybe there's a caribou or a wolf or a pack of wolves that run through. Or as you're sitting up on those hills, you can look down, you can see the salmon in the streams, and there might be a fox that runs by, or a black bear, whatever. There's a lot of things to see. So that's not boring to me. I love sitting up on those hills and watching those animals or looking for them. And then when we finally see a brown bear that we think we can get to, then we grab our gear and we put a stalk on it. And I try to get a guy within 100 yards. Not that I don't think that they can shoot them at 200 yards, but if I can get you really close to that brown bear, like at 30 or 50 yards, I know that your first shot is going to be devastating, and your second, third, and fourth shot is also going to be devastating. If you're trying to shoot a brown bear at 200 yards, and in my opinion, that's kind of unethical, because although your first shot might be good, your second, third, and fourth shot are going to be horrible. But if I can get you real close, we're going to cleanly and humanely put that animal down, and it's going to be exhilarating. Your heart is going to be beating out of your chest. I mean, it's going to be exciting, but we're also going to, treat the animals with the respect they deserve. Because that's one of the things about my hunting business, and in South Dakota and Alaska both. I mean, we take fantastic care of our animals, and then we kill them humanely. That's part of the deal, and no hunters like to see an animal suffer. That's for sure.
No, it's one of those things, like you said, you want to, and I'm going to use your word, a devastating shot. You want your first shot to apply as much damage so the animal does not have to suffer. So that's a very big thing. Now, when you get up and you start glassing, and if you don't see anything, you pack up camp and you start hiking out looking.
No, not usually.
Okay.
What and I kind of got sidetracked on the specifics of the hunt. Going back to your flight in, when you fly into one of my camps, you're going to fly past dozens, if not hundreds, of glaciers. You're going to fly over some of the most rugged, beautiful mountains you can see in the world. You'll fly past active volcanoes. You'll fly over a lot of wildlife. You'll fly over some really rugged country and some beautiful country. So that right there is worth the price of admission already. And you get in there and you just get to see so much stuff that you don't see, whether you come from Kansas City or Chicago or Georgia or California or South Dakota. I mean, it's just, Alaska is very unique in its own aspect. I mean, it's really romantic. Well, the first year I went to Alaska, it really changed my life. That sounds kind of corny, but it's true. It's an awesome place, and I love going up there. And then some people like we do some fishing trips too. Fly. One of the things that is really becoming more popular are the remote fishing trips. You can always fly into a lodge, go in there, and you can listen to the news on their big screen TV, and you can sit down at the table and have a nice supper or whatever. But you're really missing something that Alaska has to offer by doing it that way. When you fly out into a remote camp, there you're sleeping on that cot. It's not as comfortable as the Craftmatic adjustable bed or whatever, but and that table is, you're kind of sitting you're sitting down out in the open and having supper is not as nice as sitting at a tablecloth. But you're getting the smells and the sounds of Alaska that are, they're fantastic. You lay in that tent, you hear that wolf howling. That's a lonesome sound, I'll tell you. When you hear a wolf howling for the first time, you don't forget that. And then, the smells of the river, the tundra, they're just something that you miss if you're flying into a lodge situation. So I'd really recommend people do that, because it's really it's just a really romantic thing.
Your normal hunts in Alaska last for how long?
7 days of hunting, which means that you'll fly in on day one, and then we'll hunt 7 days, and then you'll fly out on day 9. So it's 9 actual days, but it's 7 full days of hunting, unless you tag out.
And then if you tag out, you can call the plane up and they'll come and get you. Or
yep, weather permitting, the plane we'll call the pilot and say, hey, we got our bear. Everybody's pumped. You can come in and get us, and then he'll come in, weather permitting, as soon as he can. That's the other part of a Super Cub flight, is like no other flight you'll take in an airplane. I can assure you that. We're using big Tundra tires. I think they're 34-inch tires, real soft. I think they put like 4 pounds of pressure in them, and he could actually bring that airplane down and land on the interstate going sideways.
Wow.
Like in a 2-lane highway. If it was a 2-lane highway and he caught a little bit of a breeze, he could land that going perpendicular to the traffic. They come off the ground at 35 miles an hour, and it doesn't take long to stop them. So that plane ride there is pretty awesome too. And then I got to talking about the Super Cub flight. I forgot what your question. Oh, what do you do when once you're successful? Yeah, then we can either fly in, get you out, or you can upgrade. We can upgrade to do fishing. My hunting area is the number one natural rainbow fishery in the world. We've got a fantastic salmon run where we're usually targeting 1 or 2 of 4 species of salmon, depending on the time of year or whatever. And, we can catch those salmon until our arms ache. It's just like, you've seen it on National Geographic or whatever, where the river is just red with salmon, and that's where we are. And that's how come the brown bear are there also. Those brown bear eating those salmon, they can put on some weight, and the brown bear also there to eat the blueberries. There's a lot of blueberries in the hills there. And so you'll catch the brown bear going from the blueberries down to the salmon, back and forth. And so you can upgrade to maybe hunt moose also, or upgrade to hunt black bear at that point, or upgrade to go fishing. We do any of that kind of stuff to make the trip even more fantastic.
To me, that sounds enjoyable. Even if you tag out on the first day, the last thing I want to do is go home.
Oh, that's the deal. Yeah.
Yeah. I came to spend time in the woods. That's what it's all about. So even if you tag out, I don't want to leave. If anything, it could be a little bit more relaxing at that point. It's like, okay, I got my animal. Let me enjoy being out. Now I don't have to get up so early, or I don't have to stay up so late. Now it's
the pressure's off.
Yeah,
the pressure's off at that point. Let's just enjoy a few days and take in a little bit of Mother Nature, because it's just a fantastic experience. Yeah.
That's awesome. And now you said you have 11,000 square miles just to yourself?
Not just to myself, but that's how big my hunting area is.
Okay.
Yep. And Alaskans, see, one of the things when you get a guide use area is there could be other guides in there, but really, if you've got 11,000 square miles and you're stepping on somebody's toes, you've got some problems. You've got some personal problems. There's plenty of room to go around. And then Alaskans can, residents can also come out there. But that's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is, and oftentimes too late, they'll go to Alaska because they love hunting and fishing. Then they find out when they get to Alaska that there's hardly any hunting and fishing along the road system. I think they figure they've got 6,000. I can't remember if it's 2,000 miles or 6,000 miles of roads in Alaska, but that's not much, because Alaska is 20% of the United States, and there's only like 2,000 miles of road on it. And so if you live in Alaska and you want to go on a good hunting or fishing trip, you kind of got to fly out. So you have to fly out. A lot of the people just don't go. They're not that committed to going. Kind of like you might have some neighbors down in Florida there. They look at the ocean every day. They just never go out on it.
And there's a lot of those people out there.
Yep.
There is quite a few people out there like that. So, how many of these brown bear hunts do you do? You're up there for, you say 6 weeks?
Yeah, 6 or 8 weeks. So typically I'll do 3 brown bear hunts. Those are almost always conducted one-on-one. On occasion, I'll take 2 hunters at a time, or I think there's maybe been a time or two where I've taken 3 hunters. I do all the guiding myself. I always have 1 extra person out there, or sometimes 2 extra people, just to help with the lifting and the looking and the walking. That all helps having an extra person. I'll typically take 3 hunts. So I'll either have 3 hunters or maybe 5 hunters on any given year, where like if it was you and your son, or you and your wife, or you and your pal, you and your brother, and then I would still guide each of you, which is really an awesome way to do it, because you kind of get 2 hunts for the price of one, because while I sneak you in, and we sneak up and we get the bear and we're all excited, and everybody's happy, then your pal is right along, right in the heat of the game with you, and then or your wife, or your son or father or whatever, and then maybe the next day it's his turn, and you get to participate in his, so you get 2 adrenaline bursts for the price of one.
That's awesome. And you saw me when I was up there. I enjoy taking photos.
Oh, it's fun.
That's what I really enjoy. I like capturing the moment. I actually was having a conversation this morning with somebody that was looking for a photo. They're like, if anybody would have taken a photo with their phone, it was you. Do you have any photos? I'm like, actually, I've got 14. So I gave them
Nice.
the photos. And they're like,
Oh yeah, you sent me a pile of
I
those
sent you,
pictures.
I think I
Oh, I
took
love it.
2,000 pictures with you.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And like anything else, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but if you take 2,000 pictures, I'm thinking that we can sit down and pick one or two that are awesome.
Exactly. And that's why you take
those
so
are the
many.
ones that you remember forever.
Exactly. And that's why I take so many, and I always leave them, put them all together and let
Sure.
everybody look at them. And I know for me at the beginning of my career, for the first 20 years of my career, I have very few pictures. And I did some unbelievable traveling in my first 20 years. I lived in South America for 4 years. I lived in Venezuela catching some unbelievable fish. Had the opportunity, when you live in a country like that, when you're not fishing and you get to know everybody, you realize that you get to go do other things. You go to the rivers where all the local people go and go swimming. And one of my favorite stories, we took a day off and had our driver just drive us. We got 2 cases of beer and started driving. And next thing you know, we were in a fishing village, and only the women and children were there. The women were fixing up all the fishing equipment. These were commercial fishermen, and the kids were all running around, and the husbands and sons were out fishing.
Oh,
And
I'm glad that you went there with that. I thought you were going to say it was laundry day.
no, 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 no. They were working. And we hung out and had a couple beers with them. And luckily, because I speak the language, I got the gist of the town. And they said, hey, if you go up the mountain a little bit, there's another town. And we went up there and we found a baseball diamond. And I'm a sports fan. And I walk onto this baseball field with my captain at the time. I was 23 years old. My other mate, he was 21. My captain was probably about my age, mid to late 40s. As we're walking, I hear these kids start saying, hey, look at the gringos. Mira lo gringo, mira lo gringo. And we look over and there's these 3 young kids, probably about 7, 8 years old, sitting on top of the dugout, making fun of us. And then I started talking to them. And before you know it, we get invited to play baseball with these kids, and they range anywhere from like 7 to 18. And we played baseball with them for a while. And we decided, okay, after about an hour, I want to go have another beer, but these are kids. So, hey, we'll invite you to some pops, to some sodas. And soda was ridiculously cheap. It's like it was like a quarter, a US quarter. And so we're like, hey, listen, sodas for all the kids. And we're buying sodas for all the kids. And there's a little 3-year-old, maybe, he had to be 3 because he's still in diapers. He was crying. And it's like, yo, buddy, what's the matter? He's like, I'm too young to play ball, so I can't get a soda. And it's like, hey, give this kid a soda. And I can't remember, it was a Mellow Yellow or a Fanta or whatever, but I remember him holding that soda bottle. And these were the old-fashioned glass bottles, and it was about as tall as he was. And he was just so happy drinking his soda. But these are the memories that I have that I never took pictures of. And
Yeah.
so now I try to over take pictures. I don't want to miss anything because I love sharing my stories. And again, it's what we said earlier, the difference between fishing and or catching and killing is fishing and hunting.
Sure.
And it's those times. That was a day off. You know, you fish 28 days in a row and you have a couple days off. You get your work done one day, the next day you jump in a car and you go tour the countryside in a country that you're a guest of. And you don't go to where all the tourists go. You go where normal people live and get to know everybody. And maybe those kids remember, maybe they don't. But I know that was 20. Whew, never mind. A lot. 25 years ago. But
Yeah.
I never forget it.
Yeah, that's the deal. You remember them, and today with our phones, we carry them around in our pocket, and we want to quick draw that phone out and take a video of something that we saw, and I always find that disappointing because number one, you're kind of missing the experience when you're trying to video it, because then you're thinking, well, I'll video it and then I'll watch it a whole bunch of times, which you never do.
It's never the
But
same.
if you have a picture in 1 second, you can just look at that picture and that whole story immediately runs through your head. And it takes you 1 second to look at that picture. If you saw that little guy with that big bottle of Mellow Yellow, instantly you'd remember everything you just said. And then if you waste it on a video, you really have something that you have to like you have to make a conscientious attempt to watch a video, but a picture, all you have to do is just glance and you get the whole feeling just with that one picture in a split second.
It's one of the reasons when I go places, I just volunteer to take the pictures.
Nice.
I do it because I want everybody to have something to remember it by. That to me I think is important, especially when we're fishing. A lot of the times we're doing something that I've already done 10,000 times over. And okay, let me take some pictures, let you enjoy the moment, and let me take some pictures. And at the end of the day, I can share it with you. And oh yeah, I do remember that. And I think it was 2 weeks ago, I went with Scott and Jared. I put together a trip to go to Guatemala, and we had some great fishing. We caught 118 sailfish in 3 days of fishing. And it was some of the best fishing they had ever seen. And I was like, wow, I'm glad I was able to capture all this for you guys. And here's all the pictures. Enjoy, please. Enjoy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
when you guys were out doing the buffalo hunting, the two pictures that I remember the most that you sent me of all those pictures, one of them had Jared standing right beside that buffalo and showing how big it was next to him standing there. That picture. And, the other picture that was awesome was Hero laying up on that berm, either just getting ready or just getting done shooting his buffalo. Those are the two pictures that of all those that I looked at, I remember thinking, yep, Hero's just about ready to drop the hammer on that buffalo at that time. And you could just see the excitement in his eyes. I thought, what a fantastic picture. That really shows what it's all about, is the excitement.
And that was a lifetime goal for him.
Nice.
It was his idea. The bison hunt was his idea. We were up fishing in Ocean City, Maryland, and he said, you put this fishing trip together so fast, so easily. I've always wanted to shoot a bison.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was the one that brought it up while we were fishing. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, let's. I get calls a lot for a lot of different things. But one of the reasons I feel I get called, because if somebody says, hey, do something, okay, let's do it. And before you know it, I just recently had something where some plans changed. Somebody said, hey, can you do this for us? And it's like, absolutely, let's do it. We've got 6 months. Let's get everything rolling. And within 10 days, we had 95% of everything done.
Oh,
other than marketing and pulling the trigger, for lack of a better term, pulling the trigger of the actual event before we got a call and said, hey, listen, we've got to postpone this. And luckily, because it's postponed, we just put it on a shelf in a folder and everything's done. But they're like, wow, really, in 2 weeks? And I want to say it was more like 11 days. We had 95% of everything done, scoped out, invitations, graphic art, everything is done, ready to go. Because as you know, life happens. And the last thing I want to be doing is running what needs to be done when there's a problem that arises, because we always have problems. When a problem arises, I want to make sure everything's already initiated, everything's in place. So if a problem arises, it's just, okay, yeah, not a problem. I can give you 100% of my attention for that, as opposed to I can only give you 50% of my attention because I'm trying to get everything else going.
Sure.
That's just the way it's one of the ways I fished at the beginning of the season before we got somewhere. Tackle was done for the whole 6 months. Whole 6 months, it's done. Everything is done. That way, if there's a problem, you don't have to catch up. If you have a reel go bad, okay, a reel goes bad, you either take it apart or you send it back out to wherever it gets done. But you have so much backup and you have everything ready. You have 1,000 leaders cut, you have 1,000 hooks sharpened, you have everything done for the whole season. So it's just a matter of assembling. Or listen, bad weather, the last thing you want to do is try to start putting stuff together. No, it's already done. And that's at least for me, that helps me in my percentages, meaning at the end of the year, that's the difference between being successful 57% of the time or 49% of the time. And
which is a big difference.
It's a huge difference.
Sure.
It's a huge difference. And the more often you're doing something, even 1% over the course of 1,000 times makes a huge difference.
That's a lot. And then also the enjoyment you're going to get out of the trip, because by being that prepared, your stress level is just a fraction of what it would be if you were trying to get it, the last second reel fixed and then do a bunch with your tackle or whatever you're doing, at the last second. Cutting that stress down, you're out there to have a good time anyway.
Exactly.
So that's a huge part of it. I get that 100%.
You want to enjoy the moment. You want to enjoy the moment with your friends or clients or however. And it's funny, you even said it earlier, where you had a client, he's more like a friend now. I have many of people like that after so many times. We're just friends now. It's I have one guy, we do 7 trips a year. He just called me up. Hey, what are you doing next month? You tell me. I want to catch this species. Okay, well, do you want big ones or do you want a lot of them? I want to catch a lot of them. Okay, this is the spot we should go. Who should we fish with? These are the 3 guys. Do you want to take care of it? You want me to take care of it? And we do 6 or 7 trips a year. He would just fill in the species and we buy tickets and go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's, it's, at least that's the way I like to do it. Fill in the species, especially nowadays. It's so easy to jump on a plane and go somewhere.
It is. I've got some pictures. I have that reel of pictures that go on downstairs that I kind of trap my customers into watching, because I got the big screen TVs, but then off to the side, the reels of pictures, and I've got some pictures. I've got a picture. One of the pictures is my granddad with an elk that he shot in Montana. And when he went on that hunt, I think it was in the 20s, the late 20s. He lived here in South Dakota. Well, he drove the car to Jamestown, North Dakota, got on a train, took the train west past Montana into Idaho, got off the train in Idaho, got onto a horse-drawn wagon, came back into Montana, and then got onto horses, rode up into the mountains to kill that elk.
Wow.
What a safari, right? And now you get on the internet, literally find where you want to go hunting and fishing, probably find a guide that's awesome, make a couple calls to check on him, and get on the airplane Sunday after church, go maybe harvest a fantastic brown bear, maybe catch a bunch of fish, go out and do your thing, be back in time for church on Sunday the next week.
It's so amazing. It really is.
I mean, it's just gone from being like, where in the world would you start? Back in those days, you'd look at a magazine and hope to find, who's going to take you on a brown bear hunt or a fishing trip. Where would you start? But now you sit down and boy, it's just streamlined everything. You jump on the plane, you're anywhere in the world in just hours, having a big time. What a fantastic time to be living.
I remember one time watching a movie where I saw somebody buy a plane ticket on their phone, and I was shocked. I'm like, really? Can it be that easy? I would say 80% of my tickets I just write on my phone. Yeah. And many a times, even when I was up visiting you, I only had a one-way ticket just to get up to hunt with you. And then I knew I was going fishing. I didn't know where I was going to fly out of. I didn't buy my ticket till later. I buy a lot of one-way tickets because you never know when somebody's just going to say, hey, why don't you stay an extra couple of days and we'll go hunting? Or, sure. Hey, they're biting. Why don't you stay an extra couple of days? Okay, sure.
Yeah. And that's going to be the next big TV show. Is they're going to show a guy with his phone. He's going to say, okay, what are we doing? And they're going to show you how easy it is. Because in real time, they can be from here to anywhere in the world to do, whether they're going to climb a mountain or ride a horse or go on a hunting trip or catch a fish or fly in an air, do whatever they're going to do, jump off a cliff, and they can show it that, okay, in 48 hours, we're going to have a trip of a lifetime. Exactly. and probably get it done. What a fascinating aspect.
It really is amazing. You can get to almost anywhere in this world within 24 hours.
Yeah. And know who to go with.
Exactly.
You can do just a little bit of research and find out, it looks like if you want to go fishing, you should maybe give Fly a call. If you want to go hunting, give me a jingle,
I get them all the time.
You're getting world-class experiences just in no time invested. And, time's our most precious commodity. You can always make another buck, but the time, we only have so much,
I tell everybody that's my most valuable possession.
Yep.
Is my time. Because once you spend it, you can't make it back.
Yeah, that's
it's spent. So yeah. I want to give, when I give somebody my time, I truly feel, hey, listen, I'm giving you my time for a reason. Don't waste it, because I don't give people two chances.
There you go.
And I don't want to sound like a jerk about it, but I only go places where I know I'm going to have fun and with people I want to have fun with. Same thing when I go fishing. I'm lucky that I've been doing it. I've been doing it for 30 years. So if I'm going to go fishing, I want to make sure I'm having a good time and I'm doing it with people that I enjoy doing it with.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's very important. So now, Willie, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me is by phone, because I'm a people person. I like to chat.
Okay.
The quickest and easiest way to get a hold of me would probably be go to my website. I'll give you two, which one would be basically South Dakota. The other one's basically Alaska. But go to one of two websites, JimRiverGuideservice.com. And that Jim River, like the Missouri River or the Ohio River. It's not like Joan Rivers. It's JimRiverGuideservice.com. And the other one is GuidedAlaskaHunting.com. And they both interchange with one another a little. You can get from one to the other pretty easy. But go to those websites, click contact me. It'll give you a chance to email me, send an email, says, hey, I'm looking to go prairie dog hunting this spring or summer, or I want to go brown bear hunting this fall, and I think you're the guy to take me. And then I'll rifle you some information. And then, I'll send you some information on email. I'll also send you a list of every single person that I guided last year. I do all my own guiding, and I personally guide everybody. And so I'm going to give you the name of every single person that I guided last year. And I think, anytime you get a reference list when you're booking a hunt or a fishing trip, if you have ever applied for a job, what names go on a reference list. I trump that by giving you the name of every single person I guided last year. And you can call them until you get that warm, fuzzy feeling that you want to be working with me. And then, I encourage people to call, because like I said, I'm a people person. I like to visit. And the best way to get to know somebody is to visit with them a little bit. And if you like the way I bounce my ball, then you'll probably have a fantastic time with me.
Well, I highly recommend going fishing with you. I also know that you are brand new on Instagram. So I would definitely say check Willie out on Instagram, which is Jim River Guide Service as well.
Bingo.
And you got some great pictures up there. So I highly, highly recommend checking you out. And if anybody needs you as a reference, you're welcome to call me, and I'll give you Willie's cell number myself. So,
well, thanks, Bly.
No, it's 100% my pleasure. And you never know, I might take you up on the Alaska hunt one time, or maybe even the Alaska fishing. I have some friends, and I have some really good contacts with Chamber of Commerce's up in Alaska that are trying me to get a couple things going on up there. So if nothing else, I'd love to just hear the wolves calling out at night. I think that would be pretty cool.
It's an experience.
I would enjoy it very much. But I want to say thank you for joining us on the podcast. I really thank you for all the stories. I'm going to ask you to hold tight before we hang up. We're going to have to end this, but I want to tell everybody, thank you for listening in. I really appreciate you guys taking your time listening to the No BS World Tour. And I want to thank Willie for joining us today and telling us some of his hunting and fishing stories. And maybe if we're lucky, we'll get him to come back after this year's Alaska trip, tell us some new hunting stories and see how Alaska went for him.
Yeah, the pleasure's all mine. I'd be glad to do it, Fly.
All right. Sounds good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today, and we will catch you next